Hey guys, Stealth here. Time for some Wargame, and today we are going to be looking at this German armor deck operated by Jhan Swagni. He said it's a 4v4 on Gunboat Diplomacy, but as you saw, Michael L already left, so it's actually a 4v3. His teammates are going to be holding the bridges at India and Foxtrot, and with his armor deck, well, the only real place that you can go is over to Delta and Echo to secure this large open terrain where infantry really doesn't do very well. This area does tend to become a bit of a standoff. You have your armor here, you have your armor there. Maybe some AGMs mounted along the tree lines, some recon here and there, a helicopter on standby, an aircraft ready to go. And that's usually the way that this thing goes. There's usually not too much pushing going on. And when you do see pushing, it actually tends to be more towards the town. You try to float across the river there into this tree line, you try to float the other way into this industrial lot there. That's usually the way that this battle plays out. Not today. Swagni has a different plan, and that's the reason why I'm showing you this replay. Now he has German armored, so he's going to go with a lot of Leopards. We got the Kylers as well, a Jaguar for longer range ATGM ops, Recon Leopard, probably BGS in there, a couple of AA units. He should be good to go with this setup. By the looks of it, they have, I'd say, 500 points plus. Probably some more due to the teammate leaving. And it's a destruction game where they have to get 12,000 points, so they could be here a while. But as you may have seen, the replay is only going to last 20 minutes, so there is something else going on here. Let's see what his teammates are starting out with. Looks like a lot of VTTs, so it might be reservists. A couple of VABs. Those actually have pretty decent pretty decent veterancy, so they're going to be pretty decent troops in there. Gepard A2, a couple of Crotals in case you get up against a bunch of Helos. Quad stacks of Vabs. I'm not too sure about these. He's also bringing in a B2 Brennus. And Target's going to keep the area with a CV. Also saw some units over there. A couple of Leopard 2s, Leopard 1A1, and a Jaguar 2. Alright, let's kick this game off. This is, by the way, the naval section of the map, or at least the naval variant of it, which means that Alpha can be used for naval operations. Now, as per the usual, people pushing in, and here's the first contact. We already have Helos dropping off their troops. Looks like Mi-8Ts. Providing rocket support fire for the infantry as they're about to hit the buildings here. The VABs, so far, seem to be okay. They seem to be doing quite alright, and this is when all of those Legionnaires get dropped off. Loads and loads of Legionnaires here. Most of them Legion 90, which means pretty decent Eric's weaponry. Nice and long range at 1000 meter, great accuracy, great armor penetration. But the range is not sufficient to start hitting all of these vehicles which are providing fire support. They're actually getting hammered. But they have these structures, and that's important. Over to the right, it seems that Target is a little bit less ambitious, and he's not actually pushing across. He's holding on this side of the river, which in a destruction game is not a bad idea, because Rat4 can bring in the forces from Gulf a lot faster than you can bring them in all the way from Kilo. So from a defensive standpoint, and considering that every point that you lose is going to cost you, or is going to bring the enemy closer to victory, it might not be a bad idea to stick around here. In the meantime, it seems that Swag does not really have any kind of contact here. He has offloaded his infantry recon, he has his tanks on standby. Personally, I would be going with a super heavy, a Leopard 2A4 or 2A5 to provide long range fire support with heavy armor penetration. But he decided not to go with those. He also has some units over here, but it seems that those Leopards are either getting spotted or they're not entirely in the tree line. I think that the latter is the case. This guy is not entirely in the tree line. The enemy did field a super heavy, T-72 M2 Moderna. I still like the look of that tank. All the ERA plating mounted on the sides and the front makes this thing look really good. So far, Swagni has only gotten really 15 points. Oh dear. Oh, that hurt. Jaguar 1 destroyed. A Leopard 2A1 gets destroyed by that heavy bombing run. And for some reason his AA didn't really kick in. I think that the Gepard may have been out of range. And that the IL-102 just did not quite come close enough to the Roland there. He's bringing in new resupply units to fix up the units that did survive the airstrike. And in the meanwhile, the majority of the action is really going on this flank, where it seems that target has gotten some points. But what I'm kind of worried about here is that he doesn't have any recon. He does have a lot of Commando Marines, and AA is okay, HGMs are good, but he doesn't have any recon, so he won't really get a lot of range out of those HGMs. Meaning he'll only get to see them when they already cross the bridge. Because these guys have to rely on their own optics, which is only medium. And that is, for HGMs, a pretty bad situation to be in. As for the left flank, it seems that the MI2 is just there as a sort of semi-passive spotter. Not sure how much they can see. I don't think they can see that much though. Here's the Jupiters to resupply. The Rimas are pulling back. They have to retreat in order to survive, because there's really nothing in the sense of fire support here. They have to try and make it away. Roland 3s are pulling away because they're currently on fire. And over towards the right, there's, again, nothing much going on. Red 4 at this stage seems to be doing better. But for some reason they are very, very bold with his Moderna. One F-18 or a Super Etendar would really quickly dispense with this tank. And that's really something that I'm waiting to see happen. Legionnaires have now been pushed back across this bridge. And all of the... what was that? All of the chasseurs, I think they all died, unfortunately. Over towards the left, there's still a little bit of burning going on, and it seems that Red 4 has optics, as most of these vehicles are being spotted. The 2A1s, the Kylers, they're not doing very well. There's the HGM. Kyler's been hit and destroyed. He noticed and he's pulling back. Now, he did say in the replay description that he is not the best player. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. So, if he's doing stuff like this, he probably didn't realize that his vehicles were getting spotted, so don't give him any flack for that in the comments. I'm also seeing some naval units, a couple of LCM-8s coming in, with, I think, cavalry tanks of some sort, considering that you cannot really bring any kind of heavy tank in the German deck. And we got one LCM with a troop transport of some sort. Over towards the right, this is usually what you're going to see on this map, a standoff. Red 4 is probably consolidating their lines now, resupplying and filling up the units that have survived. And Blue 4 is basically reinforcing their lines. They are again being spotted here. I'm not sure if Red 4 can actually see that. No, they can't see them. Red 4 does know about some of the units here. So they have been spotted, and I think the MI2, yep, the MI2 is really the only spotter that they have here, short of the Spetsnaz GRU. But do they see the naval units yet? No, looks like they're not aware of those yet. Oh, there's another Spetsnaz GRU team that I missed. And as mentioned, they have a large concentration of forces here. They seem to be really gearing up, or at least heavily defending this area. I'm not sure why you want to have 3 groups of VDV-90 in one structure, but maybe they were there for the initial push. Blue 4 contact here, triple stack. What are we looking at here? Vabs, by the looks of it. They can spot them. He's backing away. And now they can see some of these naval units. So let's switch back to Swagni and see what he's going to be doing with those naval units. Surprisingly, no one has captured Alpha yet. They might not have any kind of infantry CV, but I did see one here. And the Führungsgruppe can be used in a helicopter, provided that they have a spare helicopter, to make sure that they have control of this zone. Just mount it into a helicopter, fly it out, dump it on Alpha, and you have control. Now usually you're gonna push across this bridge, but this is the alternative, and this is what most people will not really have an answer to. STRB-90H is gonna hammer everything with hellfires, grenade launchers and machine guns. And in the meanwhile, these LCMs and these cavalry tanks are going to push right into their forces. And probably the 30-point kill that we saw there was for the Spetsnaz GRU, the Spats group. You can see the STRB-90H is taking a lot of damage, but he's dishing it out as well. Okay, these are not quite the tanks I was expecting. M48A2. I wasn't even aware you could get these in a naval version. But now he's across. Now he needs to quickly mount up the assault from the other side of the bridge, because now you have them distracted. Now you can start to push on. And even these old tanks, and I'm talking really old, 1979, they can still be remarkably effective. Unfortunately, some of his forces have died. The STRB-90 is, well, it's halfway submerged on the beach. The tanks have all died, but I think they made quite a dent in the forces that were here. Still some VDV, still some Spetsnaz, but the rest of the guys there died. So if he can do one more of those pushes, he can probably get enough forces across. They are now also spotting some of these transports. I don't think the transports were entirely intended to go amphibious here. And they are of course very, very easy pickings for a tank on the other side of the river. Again, the Leopard 2A1 is being spotted, so he has to be careful here, because this thing at 100 points is quite the investment. And in a destruction match, these 100 points can make a difference, especially long term. Back to the right map, or the right side, nothing going on much. Big standoff. Most of these guys are just entrenching. They each have a command unit over in Fox. And surprisingly, Red 4 has not put a command or command unit, whatever the type, in India. Whereas they could really easily get away with that, to neutralize the income from India, because now Blue 4 has a slight advantage there. It also seems that Charlie has not been captured yet. I don't think that their CV there got destroyed, so they are missing out on quite a few points. And that, in the long run, is going to cost you the victory. Especially considering that the more forces you can field, the better you can defend or attack, depending on what your objective is. And for some reason he's not actually doing either. Red 4 seems to have more forces standing by. Blue 4 really only has a skeleton defense here, again without a lot of optics. Only the optics from the Legionnaires. And it's really surprising to see that there's no real skirmish going on here. Second wave of transports has arrived. KA-52 is trying to suppress those LCMs with an autocannon. Not really going to do that much damage, or at least not enough, before these things manage to offload their tanks. But unfortunately all their LCM racks are slightly in the way. Here's the new group of tanks. The thing is that we're also going to need a bit of infantry here. Look at that thing go. KA-52 gets hammered by the machine guns from the STRB-90. These things are so incredibly good at providing fire support for shore units. The grenade launchers, the dual Brownings, and yes, it says dual Browning, but have a look at this ship. It's basically a floating Browning with a grenade launcher and a Hellfire missile. That's really all that this ship is. As far as the speed goes, I really like the speed on these things. It is 32 knots, and that makes it one of the fastest ships in the game. I think the Pegasus might be a bit faster, at somewhere around 36 or maybe even 40 knots, but still. Oh, nice 50-point kill there. That might have been an AA unit. Yep, looks like a Strela. Question is, can they push across? Here's another group of landing units coming in. There's the Leopard 2A1s, and they are pushing across. They're also crawling their way back to Red 4 score, and doing a pretty good job at it. The one thing I'm worried about is that IL-102 is going to come back out and kill all of these tanks. They have captured some cargo trucks, which means that these things at least get some resupply insofar as they need it. There's the looks. There's the recon. Leopard 2A1s are pushing across. Now, always, if you can, save your LCMs. Because these things can be very efficient at just shipping these units across right there. Looks like we're going to see some Leopard 2A1 action versus a Moderna. The Moderna, of course, does outrange them as far as penetration goes, so these Leopards have to close in. Moderna does not seem to be firing very accurately. Leopards are pushing. No, missed again. So much for the Concours, which have fired all of their missiles. Missed. Missed. What's up with his Moderna? He's not even panicked. But you can see that the Leopards really are not doing too much damage. If you want to push into these, or if you want to kill this Moderna, push in with the Leopards. Close in to as close as you can get, and the closer you get, the more damage you will do. To the good fortune of these two Leopards, the Moderna has a massive optical failure, meaning that it cannot shoot anymore. And finally the STB-90 with the Hellfire took it out. So now they have control of Charlie. They also have quite a few more points. And over to the right, there might be an incoming push. Seems that they have quite the smokescreen set up. It looks like these Commander Marines are about to get busy. If you have a structure set up like this, by the way, I would always recommend to split out your Commander Marines into separate groups. Command more structures, have more of your forces divided so that they don't all get hit by an artillery strike. If they all get hit, they're all going to get panicked. And if they're all panicked, they're not going to be that effective. Also, if the Spetsnaz fire at the Commander Marines now, they're going to do a lot more damage than they normally would. Seems that Blue is really making a good push here. Swagni's amphibious assault worked out quite well. And he's now pushing up the forces that he has remaining over here. You can see the Recon Leopards coming in, the Leopard 2A1s, Kyler, BGS is even moving up. Don't forget that these LCMs can be recycled. If you have units over there, just have the LCMs come back, load them up, fly them over, and that is usually a little faster than having to drive across the bridge. It's also less of a bottleneck, because Red 4 could still come in with a couple of helicopters or an airstrike and go directly for this bridge, because that is by far the most likely angle of approach for Blue. Whereas the amphibious angle is not that likely. Seems that he's landed yet more of those M48s. Again, very, very unexpected unit to see, but no less effective. And I would be surprised if they're about to give up on Red. Because for some reason, Blue is not encountering any kind of resistance here. But I don't see them getting to Bravo and Gulf as far as CVs goes in the next 30 seconds. Counter-artillery going on here. Clue surrenders. Why? Do they really not have that many units? No. Bravo is completely open to attack. Sergeant Gallo surrenders. Curious. Why would they all be leaving like that? This means it's pretty much a 3v2. There's Peter surrendering. And that means that only Kuladon is left. Yep. Wow, that was surprising. Pretty good amphibious push there by Swagni. A couple things. Make sure you have some sort of AA unit next to your amphibious landing. Make sure you have some long-range AA standing by when you are defending the bridge, because as you saw, that IL-102 came over twice and did a buttload of damage. And aside from that, the M48A2s worked extremely well, so that is something that I'll be looking into, because it worked so well that the enemy was just completely unaware. They had no real counter there. If you have any other pointers for Swagni, let him know in the comments. Always good to share your experiences and your tips, and I'd be happy to see your input down below. Tomorrow another interesting gameplay coming up, and as for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon for the next video.